What's up guys, C2113 here, and I got something special for you today because we're unboxing the Cat S61 rugged smartphone. Alrighty guys, so let's get into this box. Comes off real easy like that, and there's the phone. And if you see, unlike the 7 Plus even that I have, or any of the new iPhones certainly, got tons of physical buttons, as you can see here. You've got 3. And of course, you have a dual SIM setup, either a single SIM and a micro SD, or 2 SIMs. You've got your volume buttons on the side, your power buttons over here. You've got a multifunction button, and you've got your VOC, or Volatile Organic Compound sensor over here. And you've got USB-C on the bottom, and you've still got a headphone jack. So let's go ahead and take this thing out. Wow. I mean, first of all, obviously, it's not a light phone by any stretch of the imagination, but it is impressive in the hand. I mean, this back has a very subtle rubber feeling. Now, to give you some idea of what this is like, if you've ever had a silicone spatula or something like that, imagine that, but increase the rigidness of the material, because it's like that. It feels like it might even be a silicone layer here, but it's very rigid. It doesn't feel like it's something that's going to wear through quickly, and that's important because, again, being that it's the actual outside of the phone and not just a case, you don't want this to wear through too quickly. Now here you see your laser warning. Obviously, it's got your rangefinder right here, your rangefinder laser. And up here you see your Flir camera, right above your 16 megapixel standard visible light camera. And you've got a very bright flash, although I do think that, oh no, it's dual color. I like that as well. Here you've got your headphone jack, and that is fully waterproofed, and it's got a very nice cover. Now I didn't have the Cat S60, but from what I understand, those port covers on that phone were a lot more flimsy, so I'm glad to see that they did something about that. Now over here we have our SIM tray, and this allows you to have either a single SIM and a memory card, or 2 SIMs. Now obviously on the Cat S60 there was a little bit of an advantage because the Cat S60 allows you to have 2 SIMs and an SD card. Now this only allows you to have one or the other. So here we have our SIM tray, as you can see there. And then over here, let's take a look here. Over here I believe is your placeholder, that's right, for your micro SD. I just tossed out the tray. So there it is. So you have 2 orientations here. So you can see here, depending on how you put it in, one is going to be for your SIM, and if you put it vertically, I'm pretty sure that is for your micro SD. So we'll go ahead and put that back for now. And again, that seals real nice and tight. It's got a positive engagement. I like that. Now, looking on the side here, here's your volatile organic compounds thing. It's got a cover on it to protect it. Now, I guess I gotta say I'm a little concerned at, pocket lint clogging this thing up, but hopefully that's something I can just blow out with compressed air. And really, that's it. So let's take a look at what else is in the box, and I'll give you guys an initial startup, but I'm gonna have to go through the setup process, and I'm gonna be showing you the software, the thermal camera, and everything else in another video. So pretty simple. What else is in the box here? Just your USB-C cable. You got a power adapter. Now this thing is quick charge enabled. I don't know if this actually does quick charge though. Oh, it does. Okay, so it's capable of the 3 amp output for quick charge. Here you've got your Cat warranty statement, and there is a warranty from Cat for 2 years with this phone. And here you have your quick start guide. So that's it guys. So last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull off this little protective film. Now there is a pre-installed screen protector on here that aims to help with shatter protection of the Gorilla 5 glass on here. And while I'm not a huge fan of the plastic screen protectors, in this instance, I think it's necessary. And they're easily available online, actually. Even now, you can find them on eBay and stuff. So let's go ahead and do a first start, see if there's any power. And there you go. As you see, Cat powered by Android. Alrighty guys, I'm gonna get this thing set up. Alrighty guys, so I got the thing set up. I went up through the setup process. It didn't take me that long. It did have to install an update, but other than that, here I am, and as you can see, we're at the home screen. And if I take a look here at the installed apps, there really isn't any typical Android bloatware here. And it comes with some cool things. It even has an FM radio. I mean, you're going to need to use headphones as the antenna, but that's cool. I mean, I can't remember seeing a phone in a while that has an FM radio built in. And then, of course, you've got your standard stuff. You've got your standard camera right here. Let's see here. Okay, now you see this. It's telling you how to use your phone buttons to actuate the camera. Double tap the power key to start the camera app. Press the volume up key to take a photo or to start and stop video recording. If you short press the volume down key, you can switch between photo and video. And if you long press the volume down key, you can switch between the front and rear cameras. So this is great because this allows you obviously to interact with the phone even if you don't want to or can't use the touchscreen. So this is great. So let's go ahead and get to the camera. And it says here, exit under water mode by pressing obviously the back key. And the recent key is disabled while in underwater mode for simplicity's sake. There we are. We are in the camera app, as you can see here. And I don't know if you can see, again, I'll have to do test photos in my review, but as I'm seeing so far, the images here look pretty sharp. I'm not gonna lie. I would probably venture to say that the camera on my iPhone is probably still better, but that's a very respectable visual camera. But of course, the biggest feature on this phone, obviously, besides being rugged, is your thermal camera. So right dead center on the bottom here is your Flir thermal camera app. So let's go ahead and open that up. Okay, as you can see here, the thermal app is in fact working. And of course, the way this works, it takes an image from the visual camera to overlay an outline to increase the resolution. However, of course, on this phone, over the S60, you now have an increased resolution. The resolution has doubled and the total number of pixels has quadrupled. So it went from 80 by 60 to 160 by 120. And while the resolution has doubled, the number of pixels has quadrupled. So it is much more detailed even without the overlay. But of course, because it has the overlay, your visual representation here is very, very accurate. You can see my hand there, you can see my watch. Of course, you can adjust the lineup here. So you see, obviously, when I'm coming in for a macro shot, the outline versus the thermal image, not that well lined up. But from about 3 feet away and further out, it's gonna be pretty well paired up. So you can obviously adjust that. You can adjust to different filters here. Now here's your adjustment to line up the two images. And here is your temperature range. It shows you your coldest temperature and your warmest. Here is the high heat mode. Now this is what allows this thermal imager to get up to 752 degrees Fahrenheit. So again, this is a great thing for me because when I'm working on a car and I want to see if there is a hotspot, if you've got a catalytic converter that's overheating. Really, before, only being able to get to 300 some degrees Fahrenheit is just not high enough. So being able to get that high really, really helps me out, and I do like that. And it still gets down to about -4 Fahrenheit, so that's pretty useful. But of course, if you're trying to look for more accuracy day to day, you'll just leave that off. And over here you have some adjustments. You can adjust your temperature units. You can adjust your color palette. You can adjust your calibration, either to be automatic or manual. And of course, you can reset your settings, and you can choose your location settings as well if you want it to save locations or not. But that's that. Now the other thing that's obviously pretty cool on this thing is going to be your measuring tape app, right? Your distance measuring using that laser on the back. And that's right up here. So of course you get a warning here about the laser emissions. You just tap to dismiss that. And here is the tutorial. So I'm going to read this for you here. It's easier than trying to show you. To take a distance measurement, aim the laser at the surface you wish to measure. Hold the device level. It needs to be parallel with the surface you're measuring for accurate results. Wait for the app to detect the location of the laser dot indicated by the green square, or tap the location of the laser dot on the screen. Once the laser dot is located in the green square, tap the capture button. If necessary, manually fine-tune the alignment of the green crosshair over the center of the laser dot, shown in the green pop-up box, by dragging the image up, down, left, or right. The distance value will now appear in the top left corner of the screen. Now that you have your distance value, you can save this image or exit using the icons left of the screen. Note, images will not automatically save unless you choose to turn on autosave within settings. And it gives you some tips for more reliable laser detection. Don't shine the laser on a reflective surface, a brightly lit surface, or have other bright dots visible on the surface or on the screen in the camera view. To improve the visibility of the auto detection of the laser dot, you can reduce or increase the exposure brightness of the camera using the adjustment slider in the bottom right corner. Now this will make the image brighter or darker, which in some cases can help the laser dot stand out. So again, this is basically just a rudimentary system, but it's refined in the sense that it really has come down to a calculation, and I think it's within like 1% accuracy. But basically, it's just using the approximate size of the dot, and it's using that and a bunch of calculations to figure out distance. So pretty cool. And there are additional measurements, as you can see here. You can use a triangular area. You can calculate square areas and total area. So that's pretty cool. You can see you can add line measurements there. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into this app. I'm sure I'm not going to know exactly what I'm doing. Okay. It says calibration. To maintain the accuracy of your measurements, you need to regularly recalibrate the laser/camera alignment. To run this calibration process, you will need to accurately input a known or measured distance, such as the height of a table. For accuracy, it's recommended that you measure this distance first with a tape measure. The app will use this known calibration distance as the baseline for other measurements you take with your Cat S61. Please note, a longer/higher distance up to 8 meters will give greater accuracy. Why don't I get this calibrated and I'll come back so I can show you how this works. Alrighty guys, so I got the system calibrated here for our measuring tape. Now all I did was get a nice flat shelf that I had and hold the phone with the camera and the laser emitter over the edge, and then I measured the distance from the top of that shelf to the ground. And in my case it was around 51¼ inches. And then I inputted that into the system, and now it's calibrated. So let's go ahead and see how this works. So if I go ahead here and hold this phone right here, and then I snap a picture, it gives me a measurement right there in the corner. And as you can see, it's showing 10.32 inches. And of course, all the previous measurements are also there in the list. Now, it doesn't by default save the picture, but you can just hit this button right here, just tap on that save icon, and you can go ahead and save it. I can't tell you how useful this is going to be for approximating distances. The number of times I'm saying to myself, man, I wish I had a tape measure. Well, unless I need to be accurate to the millimeter, this is going to be perfectly fine, and it's going to be great to have in my pocket at all times. Now with this app, you do need to know that you need decent lighting. It can't be extremely dark, it can't be pitch black. And also it can't be too bright because then the laser will get washed out. And so these are important things to keep in mind. It's not magic. It works by computer approximation and calculation. And that depends on the ability of the camera to see this dot. And if this dot is not visible due to too much light or too little light for the visual camera, then unfortunately it won't work. But for most settings, and certainly the settings I can see people using this thing in, it's definitely going to be enough light. And you can even adjust, as you see here with this plus minus icon, you can adjust your exposure to make it easier for the camera to see the dot. But that's that. Now let's take a look at our VOC sensor, or Volatile Organic Compounds detector. You tap on this right here, and you can see here your home screen, and it's showing it's currently 81 degrees. and 97% humidity. That's probably because it was in my palm and I was covering it. And it also shows you the level of VOCs. And of course, you can have a chart here, a chart view that shows you the good, the excellent, the moderate, the poor, and the unhealthy. And of course, you can see your history. Now, of course, I've only had this device on for maybe an hour and a half. So obviously not much data here, but over time it will chart that. And of course, it'll give you your daily totals to show you how good or how bad the air you've been breathing is. If you go into your settings here, you can see that you can set alerts and for notifications, which I'm gonna leave on for now and see if it gets super annoying, if it's always in my pocket, if it's detecting my sweat or something, I don't know. But I don't really think that's gonna be a problem, and it's nice to have. And you see, of course, you can either set it to give you alerts even when it's just poor, or the default here is to only alert you when it becomes unhealthy. And obviously you can change your units from Fahrenheit to Celsius if that's your speed. And of course you can turn it on or off. Obviously, if it's on, it's always running in the background, but let's say you want to save battery life and you don't need it, you can just turn it off and it won't be using up your resources to run in the background. All right, let's take a look at that thermal camera. So if I tap the Flir icon in the center there, it takes a second to load up, but understandable considering what it actually does. And you can see here, this is a default alignment here. I haven't done any alignment here, and it's not bad. Now again, the alignment, it's a little bit off, but you can see that's because I'm so close. So you can see it overlays, outlines, it calculates from the visible light camera onto the thermal image. The reason it's not quite lined up is because it doesn't do so great under 3 feet. And you'll need to go into your adjustment right here, and you can see you can adjust your overlay depending on where it is. So if it needs to be moved back and forth a little bit to align it up, you can do that manually. But it also has an automatic calibration. In addition, you can see here I have a center reading temperature point there. I can create another one if I want, and I can have 2. So I can get 2 different points, and of course these can move. So anywhere in this image, I can measure the temperature. Now you see this thing on the side here, that's giving me the lowest and the highest readings. So if we look here, the lowest reading I'm getting is about 87 degrees, and the highest is about 94. And that, again, is really nice. In addition, if you go over here, you can get different color palettes. And you might say this is just a gimmick, but these filters really do make it easier and more effective depending on what you're doing. So for certain things, you're gonna want to only see hot spots. So if you select white hot, it'll only show you the hottest thing in the image. You can see that, and then the background isn't quite as hot. Now the difficulty here is it becomes a little bit more difficult to discern daily shapes and that sort of thing. Now your other things like rainbow gives you a much larger range of color. It goes, as it would suggest, a rainbow. So it shows you everything from cool blues all the way to the red hots. The issue, of course, here is that it can also be a little confusing to see shapes and that sort of thing. The default is, of course, your iron setting, which is, I think, most people's, when they think of thermal imaging, that's probably the filter that they first think of. It is the default as well. In addition, if you select your mode button right here, you can either set up your photo, which is the default mode, you have video, and you have your time-lapse mode. Pretty nice to be able to do thermal time-lapse. But anyway, that's that. And the last thing I got to show you is there's the app toolbox here. Now this is basically just an assortment of apps that Cat thinks you're going to be able to get use out of for sort of tool and utility related apps. But that's pretty much it, guys. I'm going to use this thing for the next week and a half, and use it as my daily driver because that's the plan. And it's going to be a bit of a transition, switching over from my iPhone. But I really want to be able to give you guys an honest opinion on how this is and how all the different tools work, because believe it or not, despite not being a general contractor or a plumber or an electrician, I'm still going to get plenty of use out of all the tools in this phone. And so I'm going to be able to tell you honestly how they all work and how the phone works too, because again, the one thing I am a little worried about is maybe a possible slowdown. With only 4 gigs of RAM, hey, maybe I'm going to have issues. But from what I've heard on the Cat S60, that wasn't really a problem. It was more so that the phone was just kind of slow from the beginning, But again, this has got a Snapdragon processor, even though not top of the line, it's still pretty good. And at least for now, it runs quick, but we'll see if it slows down as I download apps and start using it. Anyway, guys, I really appreciate all of you guys watching and commenting. I read all your comments. So if you like the video, give me a like. If you have any questions about this phone, if you're considering buying it and you want to ask me something, go ahead, leave it in the comments below. And if you want to see the future videos that I'm doing on this thing, definitely get subscribed.